The Union Cabinet has cleared a proposal for one nation, one election. This is a milestone move aimed at conducting simultaneous polls at state and national level. The move, once implemented, will cut down expenses and reduce logistical hurdles in the voting process and will not impede administrative work of state governments. The report recommends that the government must develop a legally tenable mechanism to restore cycle of simultaneous elections. It also proposes an amendment in Article 325 for enabling single electoral roll and single voter ID cards. But there are concerns whether altering the assembly terms would alter the basic structure or what would happen in case of a hung assembly. The report does provide clarity on this, emphasizing that fresh elections may be held to constitute the new house in event of a hung house or no confidence for the interim period. However, amidst the approval, the opposition has been quick to cry foul, stating that the move would undermine federalism. But simultaneous polls are not a novel experiment in our country. In fact, our very first general election was held in concurrence with the assembly elections in all the states of our country. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Pia. And Pia, give us go back in history and give us what happened in 1952 with Nehru at the helm of affairs and elections being held at the national level and at the assembly level simultaneously.
Indeed. First, let's understand the administrative division in India in 1951. This is the political map of India all the way back. We did not have the same configuration of states. You can see what is today known as Uttarakhand was a part of Uttar Pradesh. Parts of Andhra Pradesh were also a part of the Madras state. That's of course now here is Tamil Nadu. So there's been quite a lot of change. The entire northeastern region was Assam at that point of time. Bihar, of course, included present-day Jharkhand as well. This is, of course, West Bengal, and this is Odisha as well. Madhya Pradesh included what is today also known as Chhattisgarh itself. So things were very, very different as far as the political landscape of India in 1951 was concerned. But speaking about the elections in itself, there were 22 elections that were held simultaneously, and this took over the course of a period from 25th October in 1951 to the 21st of February in 1952. It spanned months because of the climactic conditions as well as the challenge of it being the very first general election that India was of course holding at that point of time. Everybody was in fact given the right to vote at that point of time. This is of course, let's also take a look at which states exactly went to polls. First up, Ajmer, second Assam, third Bhopal, fourth Bihar, fifth Bombay, sixth Coorg, seventh Delhi. Of course, there are several other states including Himachal, Hyderabad, Madhya Bharat, Madhya Pradesh, Madras, Mysuru, Patiala and East Punjab States Union, also known as PEPSU at that point of time. Then Punjab, Rajasthan, Saurashtra, Travancore, Cochin, Uttar Pradesh and Vindhya Pradesh and West Bengal. These are of course the 21 states, and of course number 22 was the Lok Sabha. Now there were a total of 17.32 crore voters. The eligibility at that point of time was above the age of 21. This is of course a picture from the elections itself, and this photo right here is that of our very first Lok Sabha. These were of course the elected representatives. There were a total of 1,949 contestants who were vying for 489 seats, and of course there were 401 constituencies at that point of time. A couple of seats were contestant seats as well. But apart from this, let's also take a look last but not least at what exactly was the result like. This is of course a map over here, and you can see large portions of it are light blue right here. This of course denotes that the Indian National Congress that did lead our freedom struggle, they had ended up bagging a mammoth 364 seats. Coming in second was the Communist Party of India at 16, third was Socialist Party of India at 12. There were of course several other regional parties. The Scheduled Caste Federation bagged 2 seats, the Ganatantra Parishad 6, Kisan Mazdoor Praja Party 9, the Bharatiya Janasangh, that is the precursor to the Bharatiya Janata Party, bagged 3 seats, and the Hindu Mahasabha bagged 4 seats. Of course, this is what the situation was like all the way back in 1951-52 when simultaneous polls were held. Back to you, Megha.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Pia, for giving us that descriptive analysis of what happened back in history, and if there is a possibility now that one nation, one poll can be re-implemented, what are going to be the problems, challenges in doing so, and whether this bill can actually be passed in both houses, which is again going to be a massive impediment for the government of India to launch this under the BJP. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Advocate Mahima Singh. She's the Congress spokesperson, and Advocate Singh, what is the key contention for the Congress to oppose this bill?
In fact, I would say that when the advantage is just one, which is for the party sitting at the center, the disadvantages, the downsides are many, Megha. A Roman saying goes like this, a very famous Roman philosopher, Tacitus, in fact, said, when the state is most corrupt, the laws are multiplied. So what we are seeing right now is actually an attempt to deflect and deviate from what we are facing right now. And in fact, this endorsement for one nation, one election has sort of intensified ever since the Supreme Court declared these electoral bonds illegal and unconstitutional, because right now the BJP is absolutely clueless as to how it is going to play the game henceforth, because the Lok Sabha election 2024 has given them a very askewed mandate. So you're asking me what is the main problem? I would say that there are so many problems, but if I can underline that in one line, I would say the whole idea of one nation, one election in the form it is being put forth right now, without consulting the stakeholders, without talking to the most of the electorate, it looks like it is designed to jeopardize the federal structure of this country, to sabotage the smaller parties, the regional party, undermine the regional issues, Megha.
Okay, all right.
In one line, this is it.
Okay, but I also want to understand from you, because the first elections that were held in our country, there were simultaneous elections that were happening at the national level and in the assemblies in the states that had been formed after India was newly gained independence. So, and then talking about, the positives of having a one nation, one election simultaneously is, number one, first of all, you cut the administrative costs, because when there are elections happening in a particular state, the administrative work completely comes to a halt. Second is about logistics. And then that are then going to be the logistic costs, there's going to be convenience costs that have to be levied time and again every single time there's an election taking place. So when a national election and state elections are taking in one go, the election commission, yes, it is a humongous task to mobilize your personnel to ensure safe and secure elections, but at the same time it's lesser cost to have these elections. And point number 3 that I wanted to ask you is, because you'll have one voter card, and then an elector can go to the booth the single time and vote for their state and for their country, for the national elections, for their prime minister, would this not increase the number of people who go to poll significantly?
Megha, I would acknowledge your 3 points. Number 1 being, why can't it be done now when it was being done back in the day? Number 2 being the cost of the elections and the whole process you're talking about. And number 3, you just stated that voters, they'll be electing the prime minister at once. And so it curtails the whole ordeal for the voter, as stated by you. Now, number 1, you are saying when it was done back in the day, why not today? The answer is simple, and the answer lies in front of all of us. Back in the day, it was being done, and there is a reason why it could not be continued in that manner, because we are a federal structure. Number 2, you are talking about the cost. The cost, Megha, I think elections is a worthy cost that the electorate and the state must pay in order to keep the democracy alive and allow it to thrive. Number 3, you are talking, when you say, in fact, I'm rather worried when you are saying that the electorate will go to elect the prime minister. That answers it all. Exactly. The whole influence will be that prime ministerial phase, the kind of transformation BJP has been subjecting our democracy to. It's not a presidential democracy. It's a constitutional democracy. It's a federal democracy. And we must work to keep it so. The voters do not go to elect the prime minister, in fact. They do not go to elect the chief minister either. They go to elect their local representatives. And in this case, the whole advantage, as I said early on, will lie with the central party. Also, you see, when you're talking about one nation, one election, if you look at the whole agenda that has been put on the table, it is actually not one nation, one election. You are saying first the General Assembly and Legislative Assembly elections will happen. Then 100 days later, the local bodies elections will happen. As it is bifurcated, it is not one. So don't try to endorse a false idea.
I'm not endorsing. I'm asking you questions. I'm asking you questions. Now these are logical things that come to mind. And it is not as if that the BJP is going about putting all this logic, but I'm saying me as a lay person is looking at the proposal that has been put forth, and I'm taking a look at the pros and cons of it. And the question that I'm asking you is about all these points that have been put across, and what is your opinion of it? I'll come back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just a moment. Allow me a few more seconds to complete my last point. As I already said, it is not one nation, one election as has been packaged and endorsed. Last thing, when you're talking about the cost, you must remember, just last year through an RTI, we came to know that 1.62 crores were spent on PM selfie booths. We also know that 55% of the total election expenditure over the past 10 years, that is 15,000 plus crores, 55% of that has been spent alone by the BJP.
Yeah.
Also,
but then
254 crores. Allow me a few more seconds.
If we go back and government over the UP era, obviously you have more funds.
The costs, let the center, let the election commission first judiciously curtail these costs. Why are we allowing such hefty, such extraordinary, such overwhelming expenditure being done by the government, by the BJP at cost of the voter, at cost of the taxpayers' money? We are already doing that.
Okay, already. But you know, I will take it with a pinch of salt, because when there are parties who are winning the election, obviously their coffers are filled versus the ones who are in the opposition, and that's how the way things work, whether it is the Congress or the UPA government or right now the NDA government. All right, Jasmine, and then there are statistics to actually prove that as well. Jasmine Sandavalia, BJP spokesperson, let's hear it from you. How do you, the question number one, why the idea to propose one nation, one election now, after 78 years of India's independence?
You see, I want to begin by one phrase by Mark Anthony, which says that change is resented by the effete politician who do not want to usher in prosperity to the citizenry. After 7.5 decades, India needs to move towards prosperity, towards efficiency, towards a vibrant and a dynamic India. What happened in 1947 was a starting point. The first elections in 1951, which were held and which culminated in the first Lok Sabha. And till 1967, we continued a simultaneous election. There was nothing wrong in it. And if you think about it realistically, in more than 7 decades, India has come a long way. And to just hold on to an idea that no, it was possible without one election is a wrong aptitude towards a change. And first of all, I will also want to bring it to everybody's notices that BJP always in its manifesto proposed that it will stand by one nation, one election. Now, what is wrong in that? If you think about it, there can be, the opposition can harp on it that this is a wrong thing, this is a right thing. But I want to positively say that if India goes to elections on one day or in 1 week's time or one month's time simultaneously, look at the amount of staff which is put into the administration, the local administration of India, the teachers, the local administration, the police, everybody goes into a system of electioneering, and throughout the year, we are either holding elections in one segment of India or another segment. The efficiency of the nation improves. We curtail down expenses. Our schools perform better because the poor teachers are not put on duty every second day. And I would always say that to change for the better should always be welcomed. It should not be created into such a boogie by the opposition.
Okay.
I rest my case on that.
All right. Okay. One more question to you, Jasmine. Now, you've proposed this idea. The cabinet has given its approval, but now lies the massive task of getting it passed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha with a 2/3 majority, which doesn't seem like a likely outcome when it's tabled. Now, do you think this is an idea whose time has yet not come? And I'm going to compare it to the reservation for women in the parliament, which continued to lag for years and years together until it was just passed a few months ago. So again, if you've started the process of moving the wheels in motion, bringing the wheels in motion, it then is something that will have to be ruminated upon until finally a time comes which I personally, having viewed the situation and taken a look at this proposal, think and feel that it is going to take maybe 5 years, 10 years of time, maybe even more, for this idea to then percolate and then after that implemented in the country.
You see, we are very hopeful within the BJP that we will be able to pass this. We'll be able to pass the amendments. And also, when you say, I totally agree, I'm a woman myself, and I feel personally, cutting across party lines, that the woman reservation bill should have been passed way, way long ago. And Congress stalled it for its own reasons when Sonia Gandhi was a woman president of the party. It saddens us. And with this bill, the time has come, and I'm very confident that we have the requisite numbers. Yes, we will face a lot of challenges. Yes, realistically, the opposition will create a shindy and will create a big doodah about it. But I'm very confident that even within the opposition, aside from the Congress, there is a sane maturity of the MPs who will think and take a rethink. And I think by 2029, the next Lok Sabha elections, we should be able, that is our target and that is our aim, that we should be able to implement.
Okay, let's see if that really becomes a reality. I'll come back to you, Advocate Mahima Singh. Let me get in Advocate Manasvi Thapar. And the same question to you, Manasvi, at this point of time, does it look like a pipe dream to have a proposal set up for one nation, one election? There are multiple challenges over there. Not only do you require 2/3 of majority in both the houses, you also need the consent of the state governments. And on top of it, you have to bring the bill to the Supreme Court to bring those massive amendments into the Constitution. Meanwhile, there is again, a parallel thought that comes to one's mind about what is the actual representation for the members of parliament that are elected versus the massive population of billions of people who find India to be their home, isn't it? And you compare it to a United Kingdom where the population is much smaller, and you have 640 seats, 640 members of parliament who represent that entire tiny chunk of population in United Kingdom.
Correct, Megha. I think it's a time wherein our country needs to have electoral reforms, and I think BJP has touched the nerve properly. It's a very good debate. I would say that one nation, one election is a very good debate. I would not say that it's a correct debate or a wrong debate, but it's a very good debate. I think it is where this is the time after a few years where all the political parties should give some constructive criticism, some constructive opportunities which this proposal will bring out on table. But having said that, yes, there are multiple challenges, and yes, democracy is costly. I would as a citizen of this country, not have a cheap democracy. I would want to have a high-level democracy in our country, a robust democracy. Yes, dictatorship is cheap. You can go to a dictatorial model. It is very cheap. You don't have elections any day, anywhere. Where in that particular dictatorship arena, but democracy is going to be costly, and we should not say that since it is economical, we should follow this model. There has to be scientific, logical reasons to why do you want to propose this. There has to be proper reasons to this, and criticism has to be properly laid out. The biggest criticism which I would want to have this would be the federal structure of our country. Our federal structure weakens because of this particular election. That's my biggest criticism. Apart from that, I don't feel there are any other challenges which would be there for political parties. What happens here is the regional parties suddenly become secondary political parties in our nation. What will happen here would be, which is another constructive criticism which I'm going to lay down here, would be that only political party which is strong at the center, which is strong, well funded, is the only political parties which can fight election. As of now, it is soothing BJP. Tomorrow, for example, if Congress comes in power, it is only going to soothe any political party which is well funded, controlled by corporates, and that is how the election system can run out. That's my fear. I would not say that is going to happen.
I really don't understand how do state governments become secondary? If there were one nation, one poll, keeping in mind that you have an election at the national level and then you're simultaneously having elections at the state level.
Allow me, Megha. I'll tell you how. When you are in that mode of election, 1 month, 2 months, the entire nation or entire state is in that election model. So what happens is there is a limited advertisement space. There is a limited space in the brain when you want to promote yourself. So regional parties will not get that space. There is a space for national political parties. There is a space for regional political parties which are trying to pitch their candidates. What happens there other would be a confusion in the mind of the voters. Shall I vote for example, a regional political party? Shall I vote for the national political parties? So what is happening? What would happen would be our representations of people act says we can have n number of parties in our country. What is the constitution of USA saying? You only have 2 political parties. What is the constitution of UK saying? You're only having 2 political parties. What would happen in the future would be there would be just BJP and Congress. The death of regional political parties is inevitable because of lack of funding, lack of proper communication. A JDS, a JDU, or a TMC will not have the kind of social media engineering which a BJP or a Congress could have, because they are a larger politically well-funded political parties. So the communication method of regional political parties is going to be weakened.
Well,
so
to give an example, when West Bengal elections happen and BJP has a massive chunk of change to popularize itself, propagate itself, use every single stunt in the book to publicize itself as a political party against the Mamata Banerjee government. But it was TMC that ended up winning the election. But anyway, okay.
Allow me, Megha.
Yeah, quickly. I have only about 30 seconds because I also want to get Himanshu Bhatt into the conversation.
It has to be constructively designed. You have to understand there in any policy or any act coming on or any bill coming on table has to be discussed. It cannot be rejected because someone is speaking from the opposition side. It should not be rejected. It has to be validly destructed. A constructive criticism is good for a democracy. And let's not get into this debate that democracy has to be cheap, economical. No, democracy has to be robust democracy. Democracy has to be transparent democracy. Democracy has to be for the last person of this country. That's where the topic of discussion should be, not the cheapness of democracy.
Okay, all right. Let's get into the conversation, Himanshu Bhatt as well. Himanshu, do you view that the democracy's robustness and it being fair and truly democratic are in fact the very qualities that will be compromised if one nation, one poll were to be brought into the picture?
That itself, is an insult to Indian democracy after 75 years of independence. And since the inception, we have been following the democracy, so-called democracy. Let me tell you that. I'm being very, very clear. I believe in what Manasvi says, robust democracy, yes, I do believe. Costly democracy, yes, I do believe. But then, Don't insult the voter of this democracy. On the name of, regional parties will lose their sheen, you want to insult your voter of a state? Don't do that. See, that is what is creating problems. See, it's something like this. Cabinet passed the bill. Yesterday it started. Now it's a time of debate. Let's debate it out, get the best out of it. Let's get the best out of it. As a journalist, I'm looking at 1st January 2025, our census starts. That's where the whole process starts. People need to understand that process will go on till 2025. And then we will have the work of delimitation. We have come from 17.2 crores in 1951 to 96 plus crores. The work of delimitation is required.
Okay.
544 cannot.
I agree. But then again, I want to point out that, I think the larger focus, we go step by step. And therefore, when we talk about one nation, one election, perhaps it's taking precedence over the other pressing issue, which is about the representation of members of parliament vis-a-vis the massive population that we have. 1.4 billion people, and which are only being represented by some 400, from 543 members of parliament. So why aren't these pressing issues being addressed? Keeping in mind that our new parliament building that has been built has a capacity to have 800 members of parliament. So is this also an indication, or can this simultaneously also be raised and proposals be made?
No, see, Ramnath Kovind committee has very clearly said, let me tell you one thing, Megha. The committee has already said that it's 2029. We are talking in terms of 5 years. 25 census. Then 26 saying there's a delimitation that is taking place. That means the following year, the following 6-8 months, anywhere the elections are held, 33% reservation to women will come into force by itself. Now see, it's a process that the following government is following. It's not fully doing it, on its own whims and fancies and on the name of federalism. Yes, I do believe in federalism. On the name of federalism, I will not let, political parties or some people, some propagandas, debate fine, but not insult my voter. Sorry, sir. A voter who is convinced to vote for TMC will not vote for BJP or Indian National Congress. A voter who is convinced to vote for Rashtrawan will not vote for something else. So, let's wisdom of the voter also has to be taken account. Let's not talk about, debate fine. Let's do the debate. Good debate, robust debate. Yes, I do believe. Democracy can be costly, but not at the cost of 9 months of election in 12-month cycle, wherein all your infrastructural work gets stopped.
Okay, all right. Advocate Singh, quickly, 30 seconds.
All the emotional indulgence and agitation is all good, Megha, but we need to ask this of all the fervent supporters of the BJP's propaganda and the BJP itself, that by maximizing laws, you see, they came into power with a slogan, minimum government, maximum governance, but what we see today is all the ministerial berths are full. They are appeasing and catering to their allies in an unprecedented manner. But now I want to ask a simple question. If the BJP and this country are so ready for one nation, one election, why the hell did we have the longest Lok Sabha election this year? Why can't the BJP why can't the Election Commission conduct 5 state elections simultaneously? Why did it take the BJP to send an application to the Election Commission to postpone elections in Haryana on account of some festivities? It is the BJP
that's the very reason one nation and one poll should be implemented.
My hand for a substantial amount of time. I hope you will allow me to
I've crossed the 7 p.m. mark. I said 30 seconds. You've made your point.
Another thing.
Let me at this point get Jasmine Sandawalia. You want to make a point? Advocate Singh, you've made your point. Let her also speak.
Every sixth human being on this earth is Indian. Our population is the second largest in this in this world. We need to revamp ourselves. We need to rethink. This is an astute, our democracy is maturing. It is 7.5 decades that India has been independent. Let's give the voter his due credit and his due intelligence.
Okay.
I rest my case.
Okay. Advocate Tapat, 30 seconds.
I think the most important task, which could have been done, would have been increasing the number of representations which go to the parliament. Something that would have solved much larger problem in terms of representation, as Megha rightly pointed out by you, in terms of population and in terms of representation, the kind of representation people of UK get, the kind of representation people of USA get in terms of democracy, we are not at par with them. And that is where...
Then you also open a Pandora's box over there as to about delimitation and then whether the southern states are getting equal representation versus another.
Yes, that has to be debated. I think the first step would have been that. Yes. And after that, a proper debate on this also. I don't see this is the wrong.
Okay. Himanshu, but
it has to be proper debate.
My last comment would be, see, all these things is a process. And the first thing, according to me, what should be done is the national registration. The digital footprints of each and every individual. There are individuals in this country. I will, as a journalist, I know that more than a few crores who have the double voting rights and ID cards.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.